Hey everyone, it's Sean. Thanks for checking out part 1 and part 2 of my All English episodes where I talked about primary school, high school, and sixth form or college. So today we're going to mainly focus on university, but specifically my time and my experience at university, so you guys can get a feeling of what it was like for me to go to university in the UK. So let's go. Okay, so on the last episode, I told you guys about how we get into university by using the UCAS system and getting the points to get into the university that you chose. So I was very fortunate and I was able to get into the university that was my first choice, which was Staffordshire University. So let's talk about my time at university. So with most university courses, they last for about 3 years. And sometimes there are other courses, like if you want to become a doctor, which can be like 6 or even 7 years sometimes. But I wanted to specialize in photography, and my photography course was broken up into 3 years. So in the first year, usually students will move into university halls. Halls is Halls, and the halls are basically like apartments owned by the university where you can live and share the kind of community area with other people. And I remember I was really nervous at that time because it was the first time that I'd ever lived by myself. I didn't know how to cook or how to, do my own laundry or anything like that, really. And it was kind of nerve-wracking to move away from my friends and family and start a new life at university. But I was very lucky because at my halls of residence where I was staying at university, there were many people who I could get along with really well. And I quickly made a lot of friends, especially in the corridor that I lived in. So in each corridor, there were about 4 or maybe 5 rooms of different people. And what we would sometimes do is like leave the doors open so people could kind of walk in and out of your room whenever they wanted just to say hello. So it was a really friendly environment and a friendly atmosphere where you could make friends very quickly. So we started coming up with new ways that we could entertain ourselves during the time between lessons because, you don't spend all of your time at university. You spend a couple of hours there a day and then you go back to halls. So you spend most of your time at halls, to be honest. So we were thinking of ways to kind of entertain ourselves, and we would play crazy games and make up new games that we could play. And I remember there was one time especially where somebody came up with the idea of dragging our mattresses from our beds, pulling them into the corridor, and just having like a sleepover party in the corridor with everyone from our kind of corridor of students. And it sounds crazy, but it was so much fun and a great way to get to know everybody in the halls so quickly. And it was really important to have so much downtime because university life can be really stressful. And I remember in my first year, I felt this great pressure to do my best and not to let my family down and that kind of thing. So in my first year, I put so much energy into my photography projects and my photography essays, and I was getting my grades back. And I remember some of the grades I think were marked out of 15, and then your main assignment was marked out of 30. And I think for 2 of my assignments, I got like 13 out of 15, which is quite high. And then for my main module, which was out of 30, I think I got something like a 25 or 26 maybe. So I was super happy that I'd done so well. And then one of my friends who was actually in the photography course in the 3rd year, so above me, they said to me, "Oh, you realize that your first year doesn't count towards your final grade, right?" And I said, "Wait, what do you mean?" And they said, "Yeah, your university course is 3 years. The first year is just like a warm-up to get you in the mood for university and to prepare you. your second year's worth like 30% or 40% of your final grade, and then your third year is the most important, which is worth like 60 or 70%. It's like, oh no, you're joking. I've just put so much energy and effort into this first year. So in my second year, I kind of almost lost a lot of my motivation because I'd used so much energy in the first year. But the second year was also fun because in the second year, you have to move out from the halls of residence. You can't stay there for another year. It's just like a introduction to living by yourself. But in your second year, you have to search for like a house or somewhere to live or some kind of room that you can rent. And luckily, around the university, there's loads of apartments and houses that people are renting out to students. And I was lucky enough to find like a small group of people who I'd connected really well with in halls who wanted to live in the same house with me. So we searched together around the area and we found this awesome house. It used to be a corner shop. So it had like a really big living room area, a huge kitchen, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bedrooms. Yeah. And a big bathroom as well. 2 big bathrooms, actually. So it was a huge house it was originally a shop that had been converted into a house. And I was living with 4 other guys. And as you can imagine, it was super messy, dishes and laundry everywhere. And I'm a bit of a neat freak. So I like everything super clean and tidy. And we had a lot of fun kind of living together and having arguments about who does the washing up and that kind of thing. And yeah, we'd spend a lot of time together at home, and then we'd go to our classes, and then when we come back in the evening, there would always be someone in the living room who, you could hang out with or chat to. So the second year was like a lot of fun because I think the second year I relaxed a lot and I socialized with a lot of people and started to branch outside of my initial friend group of people that I lived with and people on my course, and I started to make other friends from other groups and that type of thing. So that was great. But then the real pressure came and my third year started, and as my friend had mentioned before, my third year counted towards like 60 or 70% of my final grade. So this was my big project. And I remember I had a couple of ideas, and I thought they were really good ideas, and I spent about 5, maybe 6 weeks really going into this one idea that I had for this project. And I thought, wow, this is really good. I've researched this artist, and I've researched this type of photography, and I've practiced using these examples, and I was really excited for it, and I thought it was a great idea. And I took it into my class in front of my lecturer, and the lecturer wanted to see our progress, like after 6 weeks. And she went around the group and was like, okay, introduce your project and what you've done, tell us about it, and that kind of thing. And it got to my turn, and I was really excited. I was like, oh, this is great. And I presented it and explained the whole theory and my idea and everything. And I remember my lecturer's face just looking at me, not smiling, completely like stone-faced. And she outright said, "This is not good." And I still remember now, like my heart sank in my chest. I was like, really? Like, you don't think it's very good? And she just pulled apart all of my ideas, and she said, that doesn't work because that doesn't connect to this theory, and this theory doesn't connect to this one, and I just don't understand what your project is. And I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And I got like really depressed and started freaking out about what to do. But luckily I had a secondary idea, which I wasn't sure if I was going to do it or not because it was something very personal. And I knew that I wanted my final project to be about the idea and the concept of death, which sounds very depressing, but I was trying to look at death in a positive way, like, for example, the memories that we leave behind and the objects that we leave behind and the things that matter to our friends and family after we've gone. So I've probably mentioned in a previous podcast, but my mother passed away in 2004 of breast cancer, and it was a really difficult time because I was only 18 at the time. And I remember that time in my life, it was very, very stressful, but I kept kind of fighting through. And I thought, how can I incorporate that feeling and that emotion into my university project? And I came up with a new idea that I was going to use objects that belonged to my mother and photograph them in a special way and then present them in an exhibition. And I remember there was one item which was like a poem that my mother had cut out from a newspaper, and then she'd wrapped it in cling film. So obviously the poem meant something to her, so it was very important. So I wanted to photograph that. Another thing was a small card that she was given by her best friend, which said, don't give up, keep fighting. And obviously she'd kept that in her purse as well. So that meant a lot to her. And the final object was like a memorial card from my Irish side of my family. So from my father's side, which has like my mother's name and things on it. So I had these 3 objects which had kind of significant meaning. And I thought, this is going to make a great university project. I'm going to photograph each of these in a beautiful way, and I'm going to present them in a unique style, and I'm going to put it into an exhibition, and I'm going to show my lecturer that she was wrong about this idea. And it took me a long time, and I photographed them in hundreds of different ways until eventually I found one style that I was happy with. And I used a lot of black backgrounds and black frames to frame the pictures to really give the object some depth. And I was feeling pretty confident about the exhibition, and I knew that I was going to impress like my family when they came to the exhibition to see the art piece, And I remember I presented it to my lecturer, and I explained the whole idea behind the project, and I explained the connections to other photographers and the history of it. And my lecturer kind of stood back and went, "Nice job. You proved me wrong." And at that moment, you guys have no idea how happy that made me feel. And I think my lecturer knew that this art piece that I had made obviously had a lot more meaning and a lot more kind of passion behind it, I guess. And my lecturer could see that, and she gave me a high grade, and I got my university degree in photography. So it took me 3 years to get to that point, but I managed to get my degree. And after I finished university, I then went on to have my own photography business in England. So photographing weddings and fashion and babies and models, anything. It was a really great career that I had. And eventually, when I reached the kind of peak of my career in photography, I thought, what's the next step? And I thought maybe I could teach photography. So I started giving photography lessons to people and teaching people how to use photography in their daily lives, how to take nice pictures. And that's when I realized I also enjoyed teaching. So that's when I transitioned into an English teacher. And I thought, how can I combine my love for Japan and teaching together? Teaching English in Japan. And that's how I got here, thanks to university. So, 今日のエピソードはいかがでしたでしょうか? Again, it feels so weird doing it without Sota. So, if you enjoyed this episode, please let me know on Instagram. We have an official account, which is podcast_listening for the Daihon Nashi. account, or if you wanted to leave me a comment, my account is Sean Bradley 1986, or you can obviously message Sota, who is 英語のそーた on Instagram. So yeah, let me know what you think about the episode, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.